Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. Today I'm here with Mr. Bonar and we're going to be discussing the very hard topics today. How are you doing,
What's up,
man?
guys? Hey, what's up, Garrett? I'm having a great time. I know I've really made it on YouTube Objectivism when I
Yeah,
get on your channel.
of course. Yeah, you made it on both my channel and Rucka's channel, and you got a video up too,
hell,
which is awesome. Um,
hell yeah. Yeah,
uh,
that was like a big milestone for me. I was like, I'm not gonna let myself have too many more discussions until I do the work. I get the video out there, and now I just need to keep gunning it because
yeah,
I'm enjoying myself.
yeah, and it sounded good too. It was a lot of like a lot of different audio files, and they seemed to like flow together pretty well. I don't know, like if you worked on that or I don't know. I usually just have the whole thing together, so it's just I don't
Yeah, it
ever
took a
edit
long
audio.
time. It took a long time to do the video editing part. The audio itself was really easy because Audacity is, yeah, it's pretty easy to use. But I bought Premiere. I'm probably ahead of myself to edit videos, and chopping it all up is a big giant process. It's very time consuming.
Yeah.
But when I started working on the video, I was not super happy with it, but as I grew more comfortable in front of the camera, I got more and more happy with it. And then when I started the editing process, and I started seeing a more polished product, I became more and more proud of it. Which is why the videos I have made videos before, but they haven't been that great, and so I kind of took them down. I'm going to rework them and stuff like that. Um, but yeah, this one I'm at least proud to put it out there as like, yeah, this was my first attempt at something.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I mean, yeah, you're feeling that sort of pride that comes with like producing something and creating something that you feel
Hell
really
yeah,
good
that's
about,
right.
and that's what productivity is all about. Yeah, I think
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't have any experience with the whole like editing or sound anything like that. My only experience editing, I guess, with this channel has been like cutting out little pieces of videos when when a call goes down, which hopefully doesn't happen today. I don't know. I'm not connected to Ethernet because there's nothing at home for me, but let's hope our Wi-Fi is
yeah.
strong here. But
You've been pretty good about like just, cutting out all the unimportant stuff. That's good.
yeah, yeah. So then and then also there was one video that I made that I had to like actually do some sound editing, and that took me so long. It was that objectivism and humor video where I took the whole Charles 2 intro and I had to cut out like the part where he was talking, and like you can still kind of in the background hear like the muffled sound of his voice, but like I tried to talk over that, and I think it turned out well. That was really complicated. It was, yeah, I didn't know, I had no idea what I was doing with that.
Yeah, we are we are novices both in we're studying this very complex philosophy, and we're also studying the very complex world of video and audio engineering.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I'm enjoying it. I'm slowly seeing everybody's quality build up and become better, raising higher standards. And it's a good thing that we are too, because as more and more people keep producing videos, like there's tons of content out there.
Oh, it's
Like
crazy.
there's like 40 plus hours of stuff to watch per week, and like. Pretty soon we're gonna all be like in competition for those eyes, and it'll make us all better in the end.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
it's awesome.
I
I
love it.
think it used to just be like Uran, Rucka, ARI, and
Yeah,
Charles too. It was like those four people, and we were all like starving for content. And then Diego came up, or Kurt came up too, and like they had their podcast, and I came out of nowhere, and then like
yeah,
yeah, now we just got this whole big community here. It's awesome. I love
yeah.
it.
Well, I don't want any of Euron's art audience. they se- they seem kind of I don't know,
The
but yeah,
what do you mean about?
everyone's been great. Well, they just ask him stupid questions.
Uh,
They're always like roasting him
yeah.
on his own stream. Euron's our audience are real galaxy brains, but everyone else, I started this probably for a similar reason to you. I just wanted to get out there and have these kind of conversations with people that I was lacking in my own life. And now I'm like, it's just full of it. Like
Oh
I
yeah.
can pretty much talk with somebody whenever I want. I want to do the work and make that name, so that I can get out there more.
Yeah, and it's interesting because like when you start doing this and start getting comfortable talking, like it's a lot easier to go and talk to like I don't know, from my experience, it's more easy to go and talk to like friends and family or stuff, or like you'll mention that you have a YouTube, or I'll mention that I have a YouTube channel and be like, oh, what's it about? Oh, philosophy, and then I like they're like, oh, what specifically do you talk about? And then I get into like a good conversation with people. So even like besides just talking with the awesome people that I've met online, it's just it leads to so many more like good philosophical conversations in person too, where I feel very comfortable talking about my ideas when before it was like I don't know if I should talk about this stuff and I don't even understand it that well, or I can't put this into words very well. I thought I understood it well, but I realized when I started the channel like I have a lot of work to do. It's when you try to put something into words, it's you realize how much more difficult it actually is to talk about.
Yeah, and I'm still trying to learn how to breach these topics with kind of layman people without like using too much like insider language.
Mm.
Like if I go real deep in the weeds on like epistemology or something, people kind of look like they're tuning out if I'm talking about it. Not because they don't get it, but because it's like it's too much terminology
Mm-hmm.
that they're not used to. But when I talk about like just basic ethics, like or like what human rights should be or stuff like that, people I get that they get that and
Mm-hmm.
they're like, oh, okay, that's a pretty insightful perspective. And I'm just like, I didn't make it up. I'm just I just
Yeah.
I just study it. But it is good. It is kind of boosted up my social relations too. Just knowing all this stuff, you
Yeah,
know,
for
I,
sure.
I I like the idea of being that guy that people can not be afraid of talking to about their heavy issues that most people are like, I don't know what to do.
Mm.
I don't know whether to make that into some sort of career path or just do it as a hobby or what. But you know,
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I
I'm
mean,
living it.
yeah, being able to like I don't know, like counsel people, do that sort of thing. If that's what you're into, I'm not super interested in like the whole counseling people thing. Because I like talking about different things, but I more do it for my own clarity or that sort of thing. I don't really. I don't know. I'm not. I'm more like to work independently. I guess that's. I guess my personality. But yeah, for sure. If you like
Yeah,
realize that you like love helping people, like that's yeah, that's what Frog Machine has done. Like he's become like kind of the counselor of objectivism now.
yeah, yeah. Going on his channel is like getting free therapy. No,
Yeah.
I don't want to put that on him, but it's a. I do eventually when I have a conversation with him if
Mm-hmm.
I can think of anything really deep to talk about. But what was I saying? Yeah, what I get out of it is kind of a more I like chewing these ideas myself, and it just like having someone to bounce them off of gives me more clarity. Like this whole Corona scare has been good for just me because I'm like, well, I need to like say these things to other people to really get them. Like what proper government action should
Mm-hmm.
be in response to them and stuff like
Yeah.
that. We can go into that later if it's interesting, or we can just drop it at that if it's not. But
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I
yeah,
haven't thought that much about the corona, like what the government's role should be, even though I probably should because that's like what's going on right now. I've just kind of, I don't know. I just, because I see that there could be some sort of role for government in there because it's like a disease. And like if you're like a disease and you're getting out there and spreading it to everyone, there could be an argument that that could be forced. Plus, there's a role with immigration, of course, to keep out
yeah,
people with diseases. But,
yeah, I think there is like an argument to be made about like, well, if the nature of the disease you have makes you an existential threat to somebody, then quarantine is
yeah.
probably legitimate there. But it gets real hairy when people are talking about like, oh well, you don't know if you're infected because there's an incubation period, and I'm
Yeah.
like, you can't treat somebody like they
Yeah.
are a threat just because there's a possibility of
Hmm.
them being a threat. It's like
Yeah. The
I
government.
make the I
Yeah.
make
The
the
government.
connection of like sorry, go ahead.
No, no, you keep going. Sorry, I thought you were done, and then I
Okay,
interrupted.
no, I make the connection of um, like profiling a demographic that is likely to commit a kind of crime, like saying all males stay home, so that because there's like a wave of like rape or something like that,
Yeah.
like um, I, like just because it's like, well, they're the likeliest to commit that
Hmm.
crime doesn't mean that it's right in the name of preventing that crime to tell them to stay isolated. And I think it's a similar situation where it's like, well, unless you are, proven to have this disease, like
Hmm.
you can't be restricted on your freedoms just for everybody else's thing.
Yep. Yep.
But different people have taken the arguments. I've surprisingly met agreement with a lot of people on both sides of the like political spectrum, and also disagreement on both sides of the
Hmm.
political spectrum, which is
Yeah, for
weird.
sure. Yeah. I think the principle here that we need to think about is the government needs to have like objective laws. It can't just be whims based. It can't be like, oh, we feel that this person might have it, so we're gonna take preventative measures. No, it needs to be based objectively, because when you have whimsical laws, when the laws aren't objective, you can't really act and think about those laws. You don't know what to do in the face of that sort
Yeah,
of system. It's like when in these like Nazi Germany, for example. Like the problem wasn't that, well, there was a problem with the laws being too strict, but that wasn't the main problem. It was that you could get punished for anything at any time. Or maybe communist Russia's more of a good example, but I'm sure Germany had the same thing with whimsical laws. But
yeah. It's what the best argument I had was, if you're going to say that the government has to take special measures to preserve human life, then you have to preserve human life as human life. Like you can't curtail rights to preserve life, because if you don't have your full rights, then you're not living as a full human anymore. You're living as a little bit less.
yeah.
And so like you wouldn't say, well, in order to keep you safe and alive, we're going to, take away all the freedom, the freedom to act and think and stuff. Like if the argument could be made by some authoritarian that taking away your right to free speech and to protect yourself and everything else would make you safer, it's like it may keep you living, but it really wouldn't. But the argument is that it would
Mhm.
keep you living. But even if it did, it wouldn't keep you living as a human. So
Yeah.
the entire objective of protecting human life is thrown out the window as soon as you throw rights out.
Hmm.
At least that's what I think.
Yeah, for sure. That's definitely how our governments don't view us though as like human beings. That's not the philosophy that we have right now. They don't view us as conceptual beings. They view us as
No,
these sort of animal-like perceptual based creatures who we just need to like do use force here to make sure that this like perceptual concrete short-term thing is going to be like better, however they define better for that. I mean, that's just utilitarianism basically.
I mean it's worse than viewing everyone as individual like wild animals. They're
Hmm.
viewing us as like one collective like thing that needs to be protected and preserved, which is like
Hmm.
no, like
Yeah,
like
yeah, they want to.
I don't want to be roped in with everybody else. I just want to leave me alone, do
Mhm.
me.
These people want to collectivize everyone and force all the individuals to sacrifice for the collective, and then claim to be, oh, I'm the collective, sacrifice to me, I'm the collective, now give me all your stuff, and just become these power lusters who never actually become happy, because when your happiness is based on just the irrationality of other people, or just the non-existence of other people, I guess, by making them into second-handed nothings, that's not how you gain pride. That's not how you gain happiness. You need to exchange value for value, spiritual values with other people. That's how you really gain value from other people, rather than enslaving and ruling over them.
Yeah, and I mean it's in the language, like the whole herd immunity thing. It's like, well, you see where the priorities are. It's like the herd.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's been really crazy. I don't know what the government is doing in your neck of the woods, but here in Ohio, they've shut down all dining in all
Ooh.
restaurants. Yeah, it's like it's real like fascistic behavior, in my opinion. I went on a giant tirade about it. Uh, Normally, I save my political hot takes for Twitter, but this one, I was like, no, my like friends and family that I have here in town need to know that this shit is not okay.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's like if a restaurant needs to make overhead or they go out of business or a waiter or waitress needs to make their daily wage to make rent and everything, uh, the government's basically saying it doesn't matter what you need to earn right now, for the good of the community health, you need to be unemployed right now. Which is just it's ridiculous. I don't
Yeah.
know if they've taken it that far where you are, but it's getting far. It's gone farther than I imagined it would have gone here.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. Luckily here it's not been the worst. Like schools have been closing, but that's been like the main thing.
right?
Like the worst thing for me is I had to move online for the rest of my semester, and basically I'm never going to be back in that dorm again, back in Nebraska, like because I just moved everything out, and hopefully they're giving me a refund, but we
Yeah,
don't know.
and I want to be clear. I want to be clear that I'm not against these restaurants volitionally being only takeout or only drive-through. I'm not against any private business taking whatever precautions they think is necessary for
Mm-hmm.
the safety of their customers and their employees during this time. But if they literally can't survive unless they stay open and they're commanded to close, that's where my problem is. That's not
Yeah.
good.
Oh yeah. I mean, but won't all these private businesses just stay open and let all their customers get killed by corona and just be oh god.
Yeah,
The, the
yeah.
the irrationality on some people is
I was told by somebody that because I wanted to go out and live my life, I was basically killing people. They're like,
yeah.
just stay away from me. You're gonna go out and kill people. I'm like, no. I'm gonna, take precautions. I work in the healthcare environment. I wash my hands like crazy. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I'm a pretty healthy guy.
Yeah.
And although I don't currently interact with elderly or children, as far as like the vulnerable populations go or the immune deficient, um, I I would be more careful or probably self quarantine if I did.
Mm-hmm.
But it's whatever.
Yeah.
It would not surprise me if things like mandatory curfews and shit started happening,
Oh
even
yeah.
though it seems ridiculously unconstitutional to do anything like that, and I can't believe. I mean, I am not even surprised that our governor did this as incumbent Republican. It's always the Republicans that really
Yeah.
steal the personal liberties,
Mm-hmm.
even though it's the Democrats that say they want the socialist things. It's always the Republicans that put it in place.
Mm-hmm.
It's stupid.
Yeah, and it's always just these like stuff, like it's always just stuff that's not that big of a deal getting overhyped, overblown, and that's how our rights get taken away when something is overhyped and just people come in and yeah, they use it, they take any excuse that they can to just violate the hell out of our rights. And yeah, and
Yeah.
you're definitely right about the whole like Republicans always ending up giving that sanction because they always cede the moral high ground over to the left, and the left
Yeah.
always wants to violate rights. And when you give them the moral high ground. Like once you start giving away rights, that's when the rights get violated. And
All the left needs is the consent of the Republicans,
mm-hmm.
and the Republicans always consent
Yeah.
to curtailing the rights.
Mm-hmm.
Oh God, what was I going to say? Nope, it's gone.
Oh man.
Thinking on the fly.
Yeah. But yeah, that's. I mean, we covered a lot of like the Corona stuff there. So
Yeah, that's about all I can stand to say on
yeah,
that subject. Anyway,
yeah, it's a
it makes me
it's
livid.
yeah, for sure. I mean, it's honestly like it's just one principle. Just if the government needs to be involved, it's objective laws. Make sure that there's no actual rights being violated, and then that's really all we should need to say about this. But no, that the government comes in and just violates all of our rights.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you want to talk about the big topic we were planning on talking about, and why I thought we'd have a good conversation was the whole growing up religious thing?
Oh, sure. Yeah. Let's go into that. So, what's your story with behind
Oh
this?
yeah. So um, my main thing was where to start? Well, I went to a private elementary school and junior high when I was a kid, which was not all bad. Some people might frame it as like getting indoctrinated in a lot of things really early, but the quality of the education as opposed to the private or public schooling was out of this world. Like I was, we would always read like a couple of grade levels ahead in our literature class and stuff like that. So in general, that was really good. But also, yeah, I did get ingrained really heavy with the whole morality of
Mm-hmm.
Christianity and stuff like that. I'd be really like when I got out of it, or well, when I got out of the schools, um, I was like 14, so I was really repressed as far as my views on dating and sex and stuff like that. Um, in general, the other moral like principles that I had um, taken on at that point hadn't really been a negative. I mean, it did sort of culminate in me being kind of a Bernie bro as an older teenager because of thinking like altruistically the good of everybody is more important, things like that. But that's kind of more subtle. That's the subtle side of religion that you don't think about. I think the most obvious part of religion that people don't like when they're growing up is how it uh, conflicts with your human nature, your want to go out and date and
Mm-hmm.
stuff like that. At least that's a really common thing for what I've seen
Yeah.
is when it starts conflicting with your want to just live life, then it's a problem.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it almost like there's an extent to which it kind of I don't know. My biggest problem has always been the whole attack on pride that religion does. It says that
Oh yeah,
you're weak. You can't achieve happiness on your own, so you need other people to fulfill you. And it sort of becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, like with the whole sexual repression shit.
yeah,
Like I remember like feeling this just immense shame as a teenager because I would masturbate, and that would be like, oh, I'm just incapable of actually overcoming this, and I'm incapable of feeling actual love. All I have is this lust, and I don't know. I would get deep into this pit of shame and lack of pride, and that would make me extremely open to just I'm weak. Let someone else come in and fulfill me, and yeah,
yeah,
other people would have to fill me, and that's what love is. Love is other people coming in and accepting you as like this weak human being, which is
yeah.
such a perverted way of looking at love.
The way that I view romantic love now compared to how I used to is completely 180. Where I used to think that if you love somebody, it's like Jesus dying on the cross. If you love somebody, you would literally do anything for them. You'd die for them. You'd be miserable your entire life for them, and for no reason, just because, because you were willing to dedicate that much to them. That showed you how much that you love them. Like the more you suffer, the more you really care, as
Yeah.
as the offspring would say. Um, but now, knowing that love is seeing your values reflected back at you from another person, um, and the whole alter ego thing, that's so much deeper than anything I ever thought love was before. And even when I put religion away in my life and I started just kind of doing my own thing as like a younger adult. I'm 27 now, so and that's the truth. Not like in my interview with Rucka where I got my age wrong and literally everything else about me wrong. I'm 27 for sure, and from like probably 20 to 26 or so, I kind of just did my own thing, just dated casually and stuff like that. And it was like really valueless. Like it was really hedonistic. And, I was always unhappy with my relationships. They were never fulfilling. I'd always go for girls that were not religious. Because I didn't want somebody that was religious. One, because I had this leftover like lack of confidence. I thought they were like too good for me. I thought they were like, all well put together and stuff. And I was just
Ooh.
this like, I was just this like, at the time I was like a neckbeard. So I was like, no, I'll just go for, kind of a Mrs. Right Now instead of a Mr. Mr. Right Now. It was like Mrs. Right Now instead of Mrs. Right. Um, it was really complicated. I can't say. Well, um, it's been pretty hard because I started studying philosophy about halfway through my biggest relationship that I'd ever had, and coming to the conclusions that I did kind of meant it had to come to an end eventually, and that was a really rough part of my life. That was only uh, probably a little less than a year ago. Um, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and this the whole. Let me think where to go with that. I had something I wanted to say
Oh,
before, but there was also something I wanted to say when you were talking. So I'll say
yeah.
what I wanted to say before. And yeah, the whole religious view on love, I guess, is so backwards because it's like you love somebody for their weakness. You love somebody because they're broken. And it's such a backwards way of looking at love because you should love somebody for their values, for what they provide to you. And I don't know, I had this view that the only way to truly love someone is just loving them in their weakness, loving them like for that. And that's not why you love somebody. That's not how you gain pride out of love, and that's not how you gain pride in yourself out of love. Because if somebody loves you for your weakness, that's not something that's going to make you feel good about yourself. And that's why
Yeah.
I was.
I
That's why.
Oh, sorry.
No, you're good. You're good.
Go ahead.
That's why I felt like that's why I probably had such bad mental health when I was religious. That along with like, I had a very repressive view of emotions that I'm still sort of overcoming, where I would just try to just push down emotions and try to never let my like anxiety or sadness or loneliness actually come out. And but then like that
Yeah.
would lead me to just dwelling on it more and more, and then it would just lead to these outbursts where I just like, I remember after church one day I like started crying because of just how I was feeling and feeling like super lonely and like love is impossible and all those sort of things that my low self-esteem led me to feeling when I was religious.
Yeah, it does set up for a lot of impossible feelings, like when you have this standard that's so contrary to life, and of course, depression being feeling that happiness is impossible to you. I assume that's really common with people that are really serious about their religion, but also really serious about the pursuit of happiness. I know I was a really depressed kid. Well, I don't think I was really depressed as a kid, but I was really angry. And when I was a teenager and I was starting to leave religion behind, I did become really depressed because I just had no compass of where to go from there. So I kind of I accepted all the premises of the religion as a default, and I became kind of like a just a deist, where I was like, it makes me happy to think there's a big
Hmm.
power looking over the universe, but I don't think that it's the biblical
Yeah.
version. So my metaphysics was just not there.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, but about the pride thing, because that is one of the more insidious things that has been coming at me lately, is the reminder of religious family to not be too prideful. Pride comes before the fall. My grandfather was a big atheist, in a family that was full of religion, and they always harped on the fact that, oh, he's just a prideful guy. He's angry because he's prideful and stuff like that. And no, he was angry because he was he was kind of a liberal, socialist type. So the world he wanted to live in was not ideal. Um, but they didn't focus on that. They focused on the fact that he didn't believe in God. That he said, if I ever saw God, I would just laugh at him because I'd know I was hallucinating or something like that. Stuff like that. But it's always the don't be too proud. Don't
Yeah.
don't 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 be overconfident thing. That's like it's the whole root of an attack against reason, is like the whole reminder of, yeah, you think you're so smart, but at the end of the day, God decides God decides whether A is A, and if he wants it to be non-A, he can make it non-A.
Hmm.
So don't be too proud of your assumption that A is A. That's basically what they're saying when they're saying, um, don't be prideful. Don't think you know better. Don't think your reason is reliable. That's my biggest problem with it right now, since I've gotten over the whole um, romantic repression.
Yeah.
My biggest problem is that it just stifles um, self confidence and things like that.
Hmm. Yeah. And
Unfortunately, oh, go ahead.
yeah, and
Yeah.
that, I mean, that ultimately makes knowledge absolutely impossible when you just completely stifle your ability to be certain anything. So then you have to rely on faith. That's why religion promotes faith so much. And
Yeah.
also, yeah, and also like the whole thing with your uncle, like that, I guess he must be an example of like
Grandfather.
you need to be able to replace religion with something. Religion, like there's an extent to which it's good because it provides people with an integrated philosophy, or it's a misintegration, of course, but it provides people with a philosophy. It provides people with a guidance for their life and with some meaning. And like you need to be able to replace that with something. And that's one thing that I think Rucka's interview hit me. That's why Rucka's interview with Ruben hit me so hard, because that's what he was saying in the interview. It was like, okay, these people rejected religion, or these people rejected this thing. Or it was actually talking about the left, but it was kind of parallel to my journey with religion. Okay, now what? Now where are you gonna go?
Yeah.
You're just gonna end up falling back into like the same thing, basically on a different side, or you're just gonna fall into pure nihilism. And that's kind of what my journey has been about. It's finding meaning in life without this mystical religion, and that's why I came to objectivism, because of how it was able to provide me with meaning, provide my life with some direction to it, without all these other terrible, like epistemologically, religion relies on faith and those sort of things, and ethically altruism, lack of pride, those sort of things. And yeah, So yeah, that's I mean that's what objectivism has done for me basically.
Right. And what you said about it being an attack on like knowledge,
Hmm.
that really speaks to me because it's like even accepting, implicitly the epistemology of not being too prideful and not thinking you know better.
Hmm.
When I left religion, what did I go to after that? I went to skepticism, where I still believed that I couldn't know everything, and I shouldn't think that I did, and things like that. And coming out of that was really hard. And now I see it, I see it all over the place, and I'm like, no, don't do the thing that I did. Um,
Yeah.
but God, what was
Yeah, skeptics and
um,
religious people are basically the exact same. They use the exact same arguments for epistemology. It's, oh, we can't actually know reality, so for skeptics it's, oh, we don't know anything, let's just give up. And for religious people it's, no, we need to have faith. They use the exact same argument, and they pretend
yeah,
to be on opposite sides, but really epistemologically they're the exact same. There's no difference between the skeptics and the religious people.
yeah. I came dangerously close to falling back into religion after, or not complete religion, but like after I left religion because I didn't like how sexually repressed I was being. Um, I became kind of a social justicey progressive, and then around the whole Gamergate thing, I kind of went into the whole anti-social justice thing, which led me into things like um, Shapiro and not Prager, but like the Prager-ish type people, and that and like Peterson and stuff like that. And that was really dangerous because then I started thinking like, oh, like maybe I should be more like like the founding fathers in his narrative, where it's like, oh yeah, America's good because it's got Christian base and stuff like that.
Hmm.
So I almost like fell back into the whole Petersonian deism that was basically Christianity. But I did that because I needed some moral compass. I was left without one, and I knew I was pretty much a loser, and I needed some a methodology for self improvement. Like I wanted some standard to some ideal to search for, and I thought, well, if I start living by Christian standards, I'd arguably better be more well off and more well put together. Like the girls that I was too afraid to date when I was young and a Christian, because the girls that like church, I just thought, oh, they're too good for me. Now I see reason as the standard of self improvement. The more I've been implementing them the last year and a half or so, 2 years, give or take, the more I've been implementing them, the more I've been seeing improvements in my own life, the more confidence I have, the more well put together I am becoming, and I don't have to lean on mysticism for that, and it feels really good. And I also have a standard for like the kind of woman I want to date. Um, whenever I feel like I'm up to stuff. Right now, I see myself as a work in progress, and I'm not too depressed about being single because I'd like to get a lot better personally before throwing myself into the game. That could be an incorrect attitude to have. I maybe should just go out there and see what happens. But if that's the right move, then I'm sure I'll discover that that's what I should be doing eventually.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I don't know. All of my experience with like meeting girls has just been through like friends and stuff. So I mean, as long as you just get out with people and do stuff, that's key if you're gonna ever want to find a girl. I think because you want like
Right.
you want to practice your social skills, I guess, because that's something that like when you start sitting inside a lot and stop talking with people, like you kind of forget how to socialize, and it's tough, and it's really tough to make new friends. And you basically lose your friends by sitting inside, and you lose your social skills to make more friends by just sitting inside. So the key here is just get out and talk to people and learn how to be more social and learn how to be better. But also another interesting
Yeah.
thing I wanted to talk about with religion that I've been thinking about a lot recently is how it kind of leads to like this sort of like rationalistic view of gaining knowledge, and because that's something that I've noticed a lot in myself in the past, and like I think there's an extent to which that has its source in religion, because if you look at how religious people talk about God and how they try to prove God, they have like these very rationalistic proofs drawn from these like premises that they pick out of the air arbitrarily because they feel right. And it's the same thing with God. They just have these arbitrary premises, which one of those arbitrary things is God, and they just use those sort of things, and they have these sort of, I don't know, castles in the sky, as I think Rand has called them, or I don't know who specifically used that terminology, but that's basically how religious people think. And I noticed that the same sort of way of thinking plagued me when I was an objectivist at the beginning, and I guess still quite a bit too, because I would just try to like prove objectivism from the axioms. That was one thing that I always tried to do, or like fit every single person into like the specific box of, oh, you're a rationalist, oh, you're an empiricist, which is not something you can really do, or just fit different things into these little boxes that objectivism gave me, and sort of treat objectivism as a dogma almost.
Yeah, I when I was religious, I would focus a lot on the philosophical side of being religious, which is basically theology. Um, I was kind of interested in um, like the technical side of it. I was Lutheran, so I held Martin Luther, God damn him, in high self esteem. The man who said reason is the devil's harlot. I was my idol at one point.
Oh man,
Um,
I got lucky being a Catholic
yeah,
then, because I hated Martin Luther and loved Thomas Aquinas. So
yeah. I can't remember. Can't remember like if you really break it down, what's worse, Catholicism or like really the undoctrinated like Protestants, like Pentecostals and like the snake handler type people. Like
yeah,
I don't know what's worse, because one of them is like more primal and
yeah,
like uh, just doing whatever,
hmm,
and one of them is like really serious about the mysticism to an organized degree, and I'm not sure.
yeah,
It always struck me that the more that the looser Protestants like Baptists and like Pentecostals and stuff, it always struck me that they were worse because they came off as like just uneducated, like they believed in basically anything.
hmm,
I don't know if you share that opinion, but I've always thought that Catholics were the best, like
yeah.
of Christian,
It
like
depends with it.
theologians.
Yeah, it depends with Catholics too, because there's a lot of them have respect for Aquinas, and that's where they do well. But then there's still like that Augustinian influence that's still there, and they like as a Catholic you have a bunch of respect for Saint Augustine and Saint Thomas Aquinas. So like it
Yeah,
depends. Like there's I don't know. I feel like even back then I noticed this sort of clear split between the people who were way more Augustinian, didn't think as much about their religion and didn't try to prove their religion as much as me, and like I look down at them to an extent, because it's like these people, like they don't actually take this seriously. They're just acting on their feelings, and yeah.
yeah. I'm currently like I'm between like majors at school, and one of the things that I've kind of assigned myself before I go to school for uh, anything. Well, I was thinking about doing philosophy in school, but I was really hesitant on going into it, and so I kind of set a goal for myself, and I bought a bunch of philosophical books, basically spanning the whole history of philosophy, like in the ARI course, which is really good, the one by Leonard Peikoff. And one of the books I have is like St. Augustine's Confessions, and I'm actually probably going to, like, after I'm done with the Greeks, which I have a whole lot by the Greeks, I'm going to go into like Augustine and the Bible, like to the extent that it's philosophical, and read and think about that. Try to kind of analyze their presence. Do a little bit of history of philosophy study for myself, and see where that takes me. I don't know when I'm going to be able to get there, but I should probably try to find something by Aquinas too.
Yeah.
Um, I, I'm not exactly sure where to look, but we'll get there.
Yeah, I mean,
I have a long time,
you could read the whole Summa Theologica, the
man.
thousands of pages that book is.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of worthwhile stuff in there,
Yeah.
and recognizing the errors in context of like what the history of philosophy was up until then is probably really important too. I even have like a couple of books by like Kant and Hume and Hegel, like
Mhm.
really nasty stuff that I don't look forward to getting into, but I need to, uh, if I'm going to take philosophy seriously. And somewhere along my journey, I may discover that maybe just applied philosophy in the realm of self improvement is what I'm really interested in. I'm not really into the technical stuff, but I'll find that out by reading these books instead of you jumping into a major at a college. Um,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. I have a bunch of like, yeah, I have books by like Hume and those people too, but I don't know if I ever want to read those. I remember I bought them when I was still like looking at like philosophy for the first time, and now it's like, do I really want to struggle through one of these books as much as like through for like thousands of
yeah,
pages of just pure skepticism and just mind corruption? I don't know, but maybe it might be worth a read just to understand what these ideas actually are, rather than how Rand presents them and debunks them.
yeah. I think if you're interested in like technical philosophy as such, then it's probably a good thing to go into.
Mm-hmm.
But you've got your own life to live. You got the
Yeah,
whole God, what is that field that you're studying right now? The
actuarial
like
science. It's just basically math and statistics.
yeah, like that seems so fascinating to me that
Yeah.
that you're like really interested in. And I listened to your conversation with Kirk, I think, about how you got interested in that and how you like used to apply it to like sports statistics and things like that. And I'm like, man, that's so cool. Like those kind of things just kind of like they just come up and
Mm-hmm.
show you them like all by themselves. Um, but it's just so hard to find what you're passionate about if you can't recognize that thing. So you're I don't like using the term lucky, but it does seem pretty lucky that such a thing was so obvious to you. That's really cool.
Yeah, for sure. I don't know. I feel
Um,
like for me, my issue has been like trying to narrow down to all those things that I'm interested in, rather than like like finding what's something that I'm actually interested in. Because I feel like I could be happy in any sort of career with like where I use math, which would be like actuarial science, or like a career where I do computer science, or a career where I do physics. Like all those things are stuff that I love. But I think the fundamental underlying all of that is math, and like just yeah, that the very, I don't know, I love like technical math and proofs and stuff like that. Like if you look at my journal over the past couple days, I've just been writing like all these different mathematical proofs, and it's like I showed them to my mom, and she's like a math teacher, she did a math degree, and is like, wow, you've passed me in your knowledge now. It's like I felt kind of proud about that, because she's amazing at math. Like it's crazy. She used to not teach me a lot, but she would show me cool things with math that I loved. But yeah, I don't know,
oh
I
yeah.
love math.
The thing I always used to do was draw. I'm a big art guy, and it seems like it should be obvious to me that if this is the thing that I chose to spend my free time cultivating skill in, that that should be the career I want. But
Hmm.
it's complicated because I went to school for art at one point, and I didn't enjoy going to school for it. But I'm not sure. Like I was a completely different person, like I said, when I was doing that. So I'm not sure. I'm not sure if my conclusion that it wasn't for me, like as a career thing, was uh, a valid conclusion or not. But I might dabble in that again now with this YouTube game stuff. I've been contemplating maybe doing like art streams where I stream like doing something on like Photoshop or something. Maybe do a Q&A while doing that. It sounds like a good combination of both of my interests right now,
Yeah.
especially with the whole like aesthetics side of philosophy. I
Hmm.
could really apply that shit like in real time, and people be like, "Oh my god, I'm seeing it in action." This
Yeah.
is like, yeah,
Oh yeah, that's awesome.
um,
Yeah. And I think with the whole
yeah,
career thing, like even with the art, like what I don't know, you if like the specific art school thing didn't you didn't like that, like maybe think about like what principles embodied in that. Like why do you like doing art and try to think of other careers that go with that. I don't know if that
yeah,
helps or
yeah.
not, but
Oh no, it's something I definitely need to really consider. Like I don't know anything about the field of art therapy, but if I like helping people, like giving them advice and stuff, and I like art, like maybe that's a realm. Or um, maybe if I love capitalism, so maybe like logo design or
ooh.
advertising, that may be an area. There's a lot of possibilities. Even though I'm getting old, I'm almost a boomer. uh, I I don't feel super pressured to like uh, get. I don't feel super pressured to like. I'm not worried about it. Like
Yeah.
I like I I like doing what I'm doing now. I'm in love with life. Um, I I'm it's about being happy first
Hmm.
and foremost, and I'm just trying to be productive in whatever way I can be. If I end up finding, my ideal career when I'm like 90, then it won't be a waste.
Yeah. Yeah, what do you do right now?
Right now, I work in the healthcare field,
Oh, nice.
so I'm not too shy about sharing about it. It's a pretty cool job. I work in an operating room as like a kind of like a nurse aide, so I just help um, move patients and yeah, make sure the supplies are in the rooms for surgeries and stuff like that. It's pretty cool. I get to see a whole lot of really crazy stuff in the surgery field.
Oh yeah.
I get to schmooze with surgeons and stuff, and kind of see how those atlases of society see the world. But in general, working in healthcare is not that fulfilling for me. It's like it's got a giant government squeeze on it, and
Yeah.
I'm constantly seeing where the regulations and the incompetence um, it makes pretty much everybody in the system suffer. And I'm kind of trying to get out because I just don't have any love for
Hmm.
it. I feel really bad for it, for like doctors and people like that really love that job, but are getting like things made so difficult unnecessarily for them.
Yeah.
It must be hard.
Hmm. Yeah, and that's actually one thing I'm considering with the whole like insurance industry thing. Like I'm trying to go more into like not like a health insurance field because that seems like all the red tape around that would be scary. Or like there's actually two different societies for actuaries. There's the SOA, which is Society of Actuaries, and then the CAS, which is Casualty Actuarial Society, and um, the CAS that's more, or the SOA that's more like life insurance, health insurance, those sort of things. Which I think I'm probably gonna stay away from because I feel like the government's gonna be like way too involved in that over the next coming years. So like I want to be more in like this is what I'm thinking so far, but I want to be more probably involved in the CAS because there's a lot more like freedom with different insurance. Like you can insure just about anything with that. So like if you want to, like car insurance is one thing, but or like different liability insurances or like just insuring just random things. Like you can come up with basically whatever you want with that field, which sounds a lot more fun to me since it's, I guess, a lot more free and like you can innovate a lot more and do what you want, I think, from my initial perspective.
Yeah, that's one of the concerns about like mulling over the idea of maybe doing counseling or something like that. Like, I think that is like a application of if you are um, doing philosophy in school is being like professional counsel to people. It seems kind of far fetched, but anyway, that's a the thing I worry about is like any kind of counseling is probably going to be under the field of psychology and things like that, and
Mm-hmm.
so there's probably a giant amount of red tape to that I probably don't even want to get into.
Yeah.
um, but any kind of similar application, I'm at least going to think about because it's definitely not a world where pursuing your dream is impossible, as some might make it seem. Like I used to buy into the idea that it was useless to want to be something like a philosophy professor or something like that, because I used to think, well, the system will be against you, blah blah blah, all this negative stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and really it's like, well, if that's your passion as such, like you go for it,
Mm-hmm.
it's
Yeah,
um,
you can't let the government being involved completely stop you from pursuing your passion altogether. Like you might not, it
yeah,
might not be as fulfilling as it could possibly be, but like it's still what you want
yeah.
to do with your life, and you can't let the fact that the government's involved stop you from that.
Yeah, that's just a form of perfectionism. Just saying, like, if I can't do it 100% the ideal way the first time, then I just don't want to do it at all. And
Yeah,
it's like, well, no, you have to kind of just live inductively. You got to do it. Like, you got to go out and live life. You know.
yeah,
Um,
and being a perfectionist is such a damaging way of thinking about the world. Like even I was reading I'm rereading The Fountainhead right now, and I'm in like the early scenes where Roark and Cameron are talking, or he's talking to Cameron and working for him, and like
yeah,
initially like he's showing him the designs, and Henry Cameron's like, this is garbage, and like it's like crazy, like even like now obviously there were good things about Roark's designs and Henry Cameron saw that, but like it was still like not the ideal yet. It was not the perfect drawing yet. And that's, I mean, that's an important principle to have, because even when you're pursuing your passion, you're not going to be perfect at it right away. Like you'll have the right principles, but you still need to practice and pursue it. And yeah, and even like the ideal man is not going to be this perfect right away and this super genius right away. Like it takes work and it takes practice. Like this is why later in the novel, Keating can't become an artist. It's too late. It's too late for him to become
yeah.
an artist. He's
That scene really spoke to me as somebody who, on and off, used to do art all the time, and then, I get busy with other things in my life, and I don't do it for a long time, and then so one of my friends has called me the Metallica of art because I can do a piece every 10 years, but it's awesome. Um, but yeah, I do worry that if I put it off for way too long,
mm-hmm.
it'll be like a Keating situation where if I'm like, oh, this is my passion, and then it'll be too late. But I try not to worry too much about
Yeah,
that.
yeah, for sure.
Um,
The
about
Keating,
about Cameron. Oh,
oh
sorry.
yeah,
Go ahead.
Keating in that book made me like so emotional with all this stuff that happened with him. Like, especially when it was when he the scene where he was like gonna get married to that Catherine girl the next
Yeah,
day, and then like Dominique comes to his house, is like, oh, let's go get married right now, and he's like, Yeah, let's do it. I was like, what the fuck? No, what are you
Yeah,
doing?
no,
Like, I
would
like,
do that.
I think I actually like yelled at the book. Like, I was so, oh man, I felt so bad for him. But and then Catherine comes back later, and she's like this completely different person. Like that was, I don't know, that scene made me so sad. But yeah, what were you saying about
Yeah.
Cameron? Yeah.
Oh, so Cameron, he was like that about Rourke's drawings, right? Because of how beaten down he was from the system, right? Like he was like, you know, he saw this destroyed ideal, and so he was like
Mm-hmm.
jaded about it. Was that what was going on there, or
Yeah,
uh,
actually,
did I did
yeah,
I misread that?
I might have mischaracterized it too because yeah, because I think he saw that his drawings were good and he was like, oh, because they're good, they might like you can't do this anymore. Like you're just going to be like me, who this person who had this same like good drawings and passion about it. That's just gonna just constantly throughout his life get thrown down by these people who can't appreciate his greatness, basically. But yeah, so I might have
Right.
misinterpreted that scene when I was explaining it.
Yeah, the characters in Fountainhead, I think, are a lot more complex because of how the situations go than like in Atlas. At least in my opinion,
Mm.
like people are a lot more sure of themselves in Atlas,
Yeah.
um, or their characterizations are a lot less like uh, negative, at least as far as like it's almost like there are characters in the Fountainhead that are like in perpetual um, um, is it who's the short or oil guy? Is that Oren Boyle? I can't remember completely. I know I've read the
In
book like
Atlas.
two and a half times already, and I my memory is so terrible that I can't
That
remember.
might be
Or
right. I
is
think
it?
that's right.
Yeah. Well, anyway, like he's got an attitude and he's really angry about stuff because of the system being bad, and it's like almost everybody is in that. Well, not no, not almost everybody, but like Dominique and Cameron are like that to an extent in Fountainhead, like a large portion of the time. And Dominique is like
Mm.
probably the most complex Rand character as far as like like just the shifting of her attitudes and them being really complex because of how they relate to all the values and stuff that are kind of underlying the situation. It's I really need to read Fountainhead again. I've only read it once,
Oh yeah. Found.
uh,
Oh, you're cutting out a little bit.
but yeah. Oh, sorry. Do I sound all right now?
Yep, you sound all right again. Sorry, it cut out for a few seconds. I got
Okay.
nervous. We dropped, but we're good.
No, I was gonna say my connection is usually pretty good.
Oh, mine.
Anyway,
It's probably my end.
it's all good. Right now, I'm like flip flopping between Atlas and uh, ITOE,
Mm.
but I don't get a whole lot of time to read physical books, so I'm being really slow with ITOE because I don't have an audiobook version of it, and I have an audiobook version of Atlas. So, but again, there's so much content getting pumped out
Yeah.
nowadays with I still haven't watched Saturday's stream on
Oh, same.
Diego's
Yeah,
channel.
same.
But I usually get around to that during the work week because I have a long amount of time at work where I'm just like kind of doing my thing and nothing else to do. Like as far as I can listen to whatever I want, so I usually catch up to all that at that point.
Yeah.
But um,
Yeah, it's nice. It's nice when I can get on the show because then I don't have to watch it during the week later.
yeah, I bet. Yeah, that's got to be a huge benefit of it.
Yeah.
When I do videos and stuff with people, not that I've done too many of them, but I do usually do like to back and see like um, just remember what I said. Like if I came across the way that I wanted to, things like that. I think that's important for me, for growing as like a speaker and things like that. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah,
Yeah, for sure. I think I've watched a few of my videos back. I don't know. I struggle so much with finding time to watch videos. It's terrible. Like I've missed so many videos lately. I think my watch later has like 50 videos in it right now. It's
oh yeah, same. I mean, it's just it's all backed up. It's crazy.
mhm.
Like for a while there, I think you were probably getting notifications from me like watching videos from like January and December like last month, because I was like finally catching up to them.
Hmm.
Uh, it's sometimes weird. Like I'm probably gonna be like that about like the videos that I make. If I go back on like a and I'm like I got a hot take about this subject or that subject, you might notice like, well, that was a subject that people were talking about like 6 months ago. Like,
Oh yeah.
but it is what it is. Because whenever my process for coming up with video ideas is whenever something really strikes me and it's like something that I talk about a whole lot with somebody, I I immediately would create like a note in my Google Drive and start writing about it. And I have like a little
Hmm.
philosophy folder, and I'm like, I need to research this later. A lot of these things are going to take more research than my first video did, because my first video was just me introspecting about uh, you know, having a funny name.
Yeah, yeah.
What do you do? How did I learn? Like I made the video because I never had that advice. Growing up, I just basically had to learn how to live with it. Um, I kind of want to like the kind of channel I want to have. I sometimes say I want it to be like if Vsauce asked like actually useful questions and then stayed on topic. Like it sounds like a good thing to aim for. Like start with a
Yeah.
question that pulls people in. Go through the motions and answer it. One video I'm writing right now is about loans and whether like it's going to be like are loans moral, like because people always are like, oh, they're so predatory on people and stuff like that,
Oh
and
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
going to be like, no, loans and credit are completely legitimate. These are the reasons why you need loans. This is why
Hmm.
people benefit from having loans and stuff like that. So that's one I'm writing. I don't know if it's going to be the next one I release, but I look through my giant list and I'm like, I'd like to write about this right now. And if I
Yeah.
basically, whichever one I finish the script for first will be the one I film next. Um, Ideally, I'd like to do something once a week, but I aimed to get my first video done in a week, and it took me like 4 or 5 weeks. So it's really whatever. One video a month probably makes the premiere worth it, even though it won't get me good on the algorithm. But um,
Hmm.
I should maybe set a disciplined goal, like you did with the daily videos, and just be like knocking it out. Although I don't think I would be able to do daily videos
Yeah. The
just
whole
because of
reason
the length.
Yeah, the whole reason I did daily videos was because I was doing weekly videos and I realized I'm not being consistent. You know what? Let's just do this daily now so that I actually have a schedule to do this. So then I have to do it every single day. Because I noticed that I like when I did weekly it'd just be like, "Oh, I'll just not make one this week. Maybe I'll do it in a few weeks or whatever." It's well, like I didn't have like that as a part of my day making the videos. And yeah, my whole video planning is just these little sheets of paper right here. I just have a bunch of titles of videos on it, and I just some
Yeah,
days I'll look through and be like, oh, I want to make pride is the crown of all virtues. I haven't actually made that one yet. I wonder. I made something related to that recently, but or like yeah, you'll see some of my like older video titles on here, like quantum theory is consistent with objectivism, or rationalism and objectivism, or man is not the social animal. Yeah, so this has like all of my video titles on it when I come up with them, and
Yeah.
it's.
I think you're gonna.
Oh, you're cutting out.
You're gonna run through some of my ideas. Did I cut off there?
A little
I was
bit.
gonna say I think you're gonna run through a lot of the ideas that I've written down just because of the volume of videos and topics you cover. Like, I think, but you know, I'm not too worried about it because you know, you actually doing a video might give me more insight on the subject. Although I don't want to make a video if I can't bring anything original to the table about it. Like you can like why make a thing if you're just like wrapping up other people's stuff in a thing. Like I want to make a thing that I think hasn't been talked about enough. That's kind of the thing. Or like the whole loans being moral thing. I wanted to talk about that because it was a subject that was being talked about in my friend group. You know, in the context of like I'm kind of a gamer type person, and there was like this program that was like loaning out games or something, like, and there's like a secondary market to it, and it's all complicated, but basically everybody is really pragmatist about it, and that market functions just like a regular market, so the ethics of it are pretty much the same. God, I feel like I'm rambling a lot about this, but essentially, I felt the passion to talk about it because it was relevant to people that were in my life, and it wasn't just like this is a principle that needs to be covered. It was like this is a principle that people are actively mistaken about right now, and it would benefit me to get my ideas about this out, like, and present it to people. That's what I think about it. Like, I mean, like with your quantum physics video that you did and your follow-up interview with Existence University, you know, that came, you know, kind of in response to the skepticism over quantum mechanics in the community, right? I mean, it probably came to you because it was presented to you as like a thing that was going on. I don't know much about quantum mechanics, and I haven't really taken a position on anything. I'm not educated enough to draw that kind of conclusion. I do plan on studying it to a degree because it does seem kind of important. But that is way late on my bucket list. That might be the thing that I master when I'm 90, and I figure out that is my passion.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah. The thing with quantum mechanics is it's so hard to get good interpretations because people have all these crazy interpretations that are completely anti-reality and anti-reason. But then, like, you want to get like the right interpretation that actually is consistent with reality, and it actually, like, it's based on a real philosophy. It has to be based on causality. You can't contradict causality with science because science is based on causality. We do science based on the fact that things have a certain nature, so we're trying to identify that nature, to do measurements on this nature. That's basically what science is. So you can't use science to contradict causality. And now what science says, you can't try to like post hoc rationalize about it and say like my whole position is like if science says that there's a certain thing that behaves probabilistically, or there's like a probability curve for electrons, or a probability wave for electrons, that's the nature of an electron, which probability is an iffy term. I don't know, you'd have to talk to Existence about all of this to get better terminology on it, but yeah, if that's the nature of it, then that's the nature of it. We can't say that, like, causality says that things have a certain nature and they behave according to that nature. It doesn't tell you that this nature is a certain thing.
Yeah, I did. I do. I have reached out to Existence about in the future doing a video, but this is probably something I think that I would like to. I mean, I don't even know regular physics very well, so I think maybe when I get a little bit more time on my hands and I do some personal schooling on the subject, then I might be like, okay, I think I'm ready for this talk. But right now, I don't think I'd get much use out of it having that talk. It's too soon.
Yeah.
But but that was a good video. I watched the whole thing. It was pretty fascinating, and I think Existence's position on it comes off a lot better in video than sometimes on his Discord server. I'm more prone to argue back at people when they oh god, my alarm's going up. Do you mind if we pause real quick? I need to go to the bathroom a little bit.
Sure. I'll just cut it out
sorry
after I
to
post the video so I don't have to like edit it and do all that stuff.
Okay, sorry to interject that in the middle of a sentence. I can double back and restate my point, but yeah, I'll be right back. One second.
Yeah. Maybe I'll just talk so that people get a little bit of value during this break, but I'll come up with something. See ya.
Okay, sorry about that. One moment.
You're good. Now, during this intermission, let us read the beginning of, or which one should we read? Let's read Philosophy Who Needs It, because I haven't read that yet. Let's read the first let's read the beginning of it. Break Time Readings with Garrett. Philosophy Who Needs It by Ayn Rand. Chapter 1. Philosophy Who Needs It. 1974. An address given to the graduating class of the United States Military Academy at West Point on March 6, 1974. Oh, I didn't know that. I didn't know that she talked to them. That's interesting. So, let's start. Since I am a fiction writer, let us start with a short story. Suppose that you are an astronaut whose spaceship gets out of control and crashes into an unknown planet. When you regain consciousness and find that you are not hurt badly, the first 3 questions in your mind should be: where am I? How can I discover it? What should I do? You see unfamiliar vegetation outside, and there is air to breathe. The sunlight seems paler than you remember it and colder. You turn to look at the sky, but stop. You are struck by a sudden feeling. If you don't look, you won't have to know that you are, perhaps, too far from Earth to not return, and no return is possible, so long as you didn't know it. You are free to believe what you wish, and you experience a foggy, pleasant, but somehow guilty kind of hope. You turn to your instruments. They may be damaged. You don't know how seriously, but you stop, struck by a sudden fear. How can you trust these instruments? How can you be sure that they won't mislead you? How can you know whether they will work in a different world? You turn away from the instruments. Now you begin to wonder why you have no desire to do anything. It seems so much safer just to wait for something to turn up somehow. It is better, you tell yourself, not to rock the spaceship. Far in the distance, you see some sort of living creatures approaching. You don't know whether they are human, but they walk on 2 feet. They, you decide, will tell you what to do. You are never heard from again. This is a fantasy, you say. You would not act like this, and no astronaut ever would? Perhaps not. But this is the way most men live their lives, here on Earth. Most men spend their days struggling to evade 3 questions, the answers to which underlie man's every thought, feeling, and action, whether he is consciously aware of it or not. Where am I? How do I know it? What should I do? By the time they are old enough to understand these questions, men believe that they know the answers. Where am I? Say in New York City. How do I know it? It's self-evident. What should I do? Here they are not too sure, but the usual answer is whatever everybody else does. The only trouble seems to be that they are not very active, not very confident, not very happy, and they experience at times a causeless fear of an undefined guilt, which they cannot explain or get rid of. They have never discovered the fact that the trouble comes from 3 unanswered questions, and that there is only one science that can answer them: philosophy. Philosophy studies the fundamental nature of existence, of man, and of man's relationship to existence. as against the special sciences, which deal only with particular aspects. Philosophy deals with those aspects of the universe which pertain to everything that exists. If the universe, which pertains to everything that exists, wait, hold up. Philosophy deals with those aspects of the universe which pertain to everything that exists. In the realm of cognition, the special sciences are the in the realm of cognition, the special sciences are the trees, but philosophy is the soil which makes the forest possible. Philosophy would not tell you, for instance, whether you are in New York City or in Zanzibar, though it would give you the means to find out. But here is what it would do. Are you in a universe which is ruled by apps? And with that, that was our intermission reading of Philosophy Who Needs It by Ayn Rand. Now, welcome back to the show.
Yeah. Hell yeah! Sorry about that.
No, it's all good. It's all good. We got some good philosophy content for them.
Yeah.
For the listeners.
How are you doing on time? Like I don't have any obligations, but we didn't really discuss it beforehand. So I'm not sure when you were wanting to wrap up or if there's a schedule going on.
I was gonna hang out with friends later tonight, but that's whenever. They're probably all together right now, but that like I left to go do this, and then I'm probably gonna go back whenever we're done. I told them like 2-3 hours, so we're at like we're good to go as long as we can. I usually
I'm good.
Be fine. Yeah.
So we were saying, but anyway, so I was saying, I want to brush up a little bit on the whole physics stuff before I really do a video with existence. Yeah, sure. I think that was what I got interrupted saying.
Oh yeah, I mean my whole video with existence was basically just me asking him like, wait, what do you mean by this? Can you clarify that or explain this a little more? Because I was like just confused the whole video. But yeah, I don't know, he does a good job explaining that sort of stuff and making it like make sense and sort of be consistent with objectivism, because that's kind of what he seemed to dedicate his life to, that like making videos that are like that demonstrate the consistency of objectivism with quantum mechanics. And I guess he's technically dedicated his life to physics, but like his channel's mostly dedicated to like integrating physics with objectivism.
Yeah, well, like if that's his passion, like it's good that somebody wants to tackle those kind of things. So for me, it's like art and self-improvement right now are the two big things that stand out to me. For you, it's like math and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So everybody's got their own thing that they like to use this thing. Like it's really about the application, how you use it in your life. It's not just a floating abstraction. It's for living on Earth.
Yeah, for sure. I've thought about actually making like math proof videos for my channel, but I don't know how popular those would be, because I have some decent stuff that I like writing out. But we'll see what happens in the future.
Yeah. Hell yeah, you could be the next Klein bottle guy. Just getting really wigged out about these mathematical principles because of how they're consistent about objectivism.
Yeah,
that's pretty cool.
Yeah,
I do. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I've noticed that it's hard to like find ways for math to integrate with philosophy, but like when I can, I do. Like my videos on like time and stuff I talk about like I talk about like calculus and stuff like that, but it's it's tough to find stuff because like math, it's so hard for you to like for like mathematicians to just go completely outside of their bounds and come up with these crazy theories. Like with physics, I thought that you'd think that'd be impossible, but you see what's happened. So it's easy to talk about physics and philosophy, but it's a lot harder to talk about math and philosophy because math still seems fairly grounded. Like people are still focused on proving everything and making sure everything works in reality and those sort of things.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of mathematicians, like in history, were philosophers too. So maybe you could do an independent study of like individual ones and see if their philosophical ideas are integrated with their original mathematical ideas? If so, how so, and stuff like that.
Yeah,
Um,
the
like,
thing with yeah, the thing with mathematicians throughout history, like they were mostly rationalists. Like that's how they treated their philosophy the same way that they treated math. It seems like because they would like think about Descartes. Descartes was a mathematician and a philosopher. But his philosophy, like he's known as like a rationalist. Like he started cogito ergo sum and then deduced everything from there. Like he treated it like math,
yeah,
like because math kind of works like you have the axioms of math and you kind of deduce things from there. And then Leibniz is another one. Leibniz basically invented calculus along with Newton. Although they didn't work together. They kind of developed it separately around the same time. And then
right.
Leibniz was also like very rationalistic. Like he had his like a monads or whatever the hell. Like he was also a rationalist. I think Spinoza Spinoza was a lot better though from my understanding. Like he had a decent ethical system that's actually similar to objectivism from how I've heard Peikoff describe it. But
Yeah, I've
he
heard
was
good
also a
things about
rationalist.
Spinoza.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he was also a rationalist. I think the way that he organized some of it. And this might be a different guy, but the way that he organized his philosophy writings was similar to like a mathematical proof where he just like have like numbers by everything and like this is true because of this principle or whatever. And it's like so they all seem to they seem to be there seems to be like a correlation between mathematicians and rationalism where these mathematicians will be like very mathematical in proving their philosophy.
yeah. I think that is definitely a tendency. Like, have you ever seen like Bertrand Russell's tried proof of trying to prove that like 1 + 1 = 2 or something like that, where it's like this big rationalistic circle, and I'll send it to you if you've never heard of it. You
Yeah.
might find it even more interesting than me. But I've had people try to use it as a like an argument against like objective reality by saying, look, like these facts, they're not just what they are. Like there's like all this complexity and even the simplest truths and stuff like that.
Hmm.
And I don't know. I'm not doing a good job at explaining the argument, but
Huh.
I've had people try to pull that stuff on me before, and it's like it's totally not it's totally not how humans do math. Like
Oh
like
yeah. Like
by by
you
making it that complex.
yeah, you prove 1 and 1 equals 2 by saying I have one book. Now I have one book. Together, now I have
Yeah,
two books. There you go.
yeah,
That's proof right there. Look at reality.
yeah.
I just pointed you to it.
Bertrand Bertrand Russell thinks that's just madness. Like there's nothing philosophical about that at all. Um, but yeah, um, jeez.
Yeah, I mean the
Um,
rationalists think that philosophy is just closing your eyes and just not looking at reality and trying to see what you can discover without reference to reality. And thinking without reference to reality doesn't make any sense because you don't have any content in your mind. So
yeah,
they don't really get too far most of the time.
yeah. I hate to go way off topic by going way back on a different topic, but I'm curious about your thoughts on something that has to do with the religious stuff again. Um, have you dealt much with like family and things like that when you made a switch from being religious to being an atheist?
Uh, I mean, the big thing was that I didn't want to go to church anymore, and they still wanted me to go to church. But this
Okay.
was back when I was still in high school, so now like I just don't go, and then they're usually fine with it. And I don't know. I tried to be as friendly as possible with it because they like have respected my decision and all that, and I ultimately
Yeah.
ended up just being like, I'll just go to church, spend time with them. They want it to happen. It's better than me just like fighting it every single week.
Yeah.
When I was struggling with it, it was when Charles 2 was still around, so I actually sent Charles 2 a question about it, but he never ended up
Oh
getting
man.
to it because he's
Yeah.
gone now.
Yeah. He's 86 or something. Whatever the phrase is. You got out of there.
Yeah.
Um, anyway. Yeah, I was asking because I have not been explicit about uh, being an atheist to pretty much anybody in my family at
Oh,
this point, just because it seems like a really uncomfortable conversation to have. I mean, I haven't gone to church in forever, and I mean I live on my own now, but like I pretty much haven't gone to church since I first lived in a dorm with I mean for art school, which was like a long time ago. I
yeah.
don't even know. Probably like 10 years ago or something. But um, I've never really explicitly said it's because I don't believe in it. I've just said like, no, I don't want to go to church right now. Like,
Yeah.
um, it seems like maybe that's evasive, but considering that my immediate family, because of my talking about doing the movie reviews that I do with Diego, a lot of them have subscribed to Diego's channel,
Uh,
and so it's pretty much any day now going to come out of the woodwork that I'm not a big fan of the dear Lord Jesus Christ.
hey,
Uh,
maybe they'll see this video talking to
yeah, I mean,
him.
this is probably going to be it. The coming out party, because there's no way I'm not going to shill. There's no way I'm not going to shill this on my Twitter, and they're on
Yeah.
my Twitter. They're everywhere.
Mhm.
Family, god dang. Um, I mean, I really love my family, but they're yeah,
Yeah. It's
they're
interesting because I
definitely
have
not aligned with this.
yeah, I have my extended family, I have in a similar situation. I feel like I've told like all my nuclear family, I've all my friends basically know, but like my extended family, I've never said anything to them. I think my uncle, who's a priest, still thinks that I'm religious. I think he asked me like this summer, about like Nebraska, it has a really nice Newman Center down there, which is basically like the Catholic church or the Catholic area of Nebraska. And I'm like, oh, cool, very cool. Maybe I'll check it. I didn't say I'll check it out, but I was like, oh, nice, cool. But he has no
Yeah,
idea.
I mean, I do have an appreciation for like pretty churches and stuff like that,
Oh
but
yeah,
you know, I kind of wish they were, you know, put to better use. You know, maybe being like museums or
yeah,
theaters or something. Um, you know, it is what it is. You know, I still I still have a lot of unfinished business as far as that realm is, you know, um, being explicit about uh, what I believe, you know, as far as like not being mystical, being, you know, earthbound and things like that. It's just hard. I think it's a holdover from when I was religious. I feel like it's an affront to, like, for instance, my mom is religious, and I feel like it's an affront to her to try to convince her that what she believes is not right. Like, but I know for a fact that living by that morality is negatively affecting her life. But because she takes it seriously, I don't want to hurt her feelings, so I just don't bring it up.
yeah,
It's rough, you know.
yeah. I feel you.
Uh,
It's yeah, it's tough. It's definitely tough to talk to family about that when they're still religious because yeah, just what you've been talking about, I guess. Shoot, I wanted to
yeah.
say something, but I forget now. Oh yeah, the whole churches thing. Yeah, we should make some temples to our Lord and Savior Ayn Rand. Have a big Rand
Yeah, I
statue in
don't.
the middle.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I mean, obviously it's a joke, but um, I definitely think that there needs to be more reverence like people have for church for the beautiful things that do exist in the here and now, you know.
Yep.
Um, uh, a lot of things are falling by the wayside as far as people's appreciation for life. Um, but I mean, it's not all bad. People do put a lot of investment in great things, so I can't say that as a full commitment. I wish people would do it more.
Yeah, for
Um,
sure. Yeah, one
but anyway, oh sorry, go ahead.
yeah, one positive, really positive thing about religion is just like that sense of reverence that religious people have just for like great things and for yeah, just for greatness, I guess. Like there's this yeah. I mean, that's it's similar to what objectivists have for like great creators or like great industrialists. Like that's yeah. I mean, it's good to have like reverence for certain things and appreciate like virtuous people or very positive and beautiful things because I mean that's part of sense of life. If you can appreciate great things, then you have a positive sense of life because you think those things are possible for you or you think those things are great. Just having standards in and of itself is just a very positive thing.
Right, and that's why mysticism in general is a misintegration instead of a disintegration because it is, you know, having this respect for ideas, and um, it is enjoying something. It's just, you know, there are errors some way. It's not like nihilistic and destructive and stuff. And a lot of people have harped on how um, religion at least offers something to
Mm-hmm.
people instead of them being skeptic, nihilist, just wanting to tear it all down. Um, I think there is something to that, um,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't like to give them too much credit. I'd rather them just be rational beings living on Earth here and now, um, selfishly pursuing their own happiness. I think that would make things a lot better.
Yeah, for sure.
uh,
But yeah, I mean it's just that whole principle of you have to have some sort of integration. You have to have something like if you reject religion, you have to have something to replace it with, like what we were talking about earlier. And I think it's funny because I've said I don't know if I've probably said this before on my channel, but like if I was given a choice between like dating a religious girl or like an atheist girl, all else being equal, I would probably end up picking the religious girl because most atheist people they just become disintegrated, they become nihilists, and at least the religious girl will still have feel like her life has meaning and still try to like care about life and at least try to like achieve happiness rather than just giving up and saying everything's meaningless.
yeah, I would have a lot more respect for a religious girl that had a respect for ideas and took themselves seriously and was like a Thomistic type of person.
Mm-hmm.
I would take that any day over some uh, just no religion, but you know pothead or something. like I've got way too much experience with women that just have no standards for how they exist. Like,
Oh
because
right.
I used to have no standards with how I exist. Um, that being said, the religious girl would probably be, there would probably be way too many hangups for me, but you never
Yeah.
know. Maybe my standards are not that high yet.
Yeah, I
uh,
mean, you don't want your standards to be like crazy fucking high either. Like you don't want to have that Charles II view of women where women where it's like there's no woman who's good enough for me and I need an objectivist woman and no, like
yeah,
look for somebody with a
I'm
good
glad I
sense
do
of
not
life and
think
don't
that.
yeah, look for someone with a good sense of life and don't give a fuck what they believe. Like you can like a girl could be like a feminist and be like the most positive sense of life possible. Like I don't,
Yeah,
that's really what matters is that whole sense of life and how they live their life rather than their explicit ideas because those don't always go
yeah,
together. Especially for most people, actually, like most people, their sense of life has nothing to do with their philosophical ideas.
yeah. My issue, being a little bit older, is well, one, my location in Ohio is not great. I'm not near any big cities, so there's not like a whole lot of activities. Like most of my things I do outside of work are uh, kind of geeky. There's no women that do those things,
Mm.
and so I could change that behavior, but also like the location is just not great. But also being as old as I am, a lot of women my age are they're getting married, they're doing their thing, or they've got some serious problems, uh, sometimes. So I don't know. It is what it is. I'm not too worried about it.
Yeah.
Um,
Hey, if you need a
but
girl, if you're looking for someone, just try online dating. I mean, that's a very positive
yeah, I
innovation.
do, I do never say never on the online dating thing. It's definitely not something I feel ashamed about, and there are good people on there. It's just sometimes it's hard to communicate on that,
Hmm.
where you're just like, if there's like a certain baseline where it's like, well, there's nothing wrong with this person,
Yeah.
but there's also like sometimes you just don't find the thing to talk about. But that's where I need to get better at
Hmm.
open-ended questions and not just being like, "How are you doing?" It's more
Yeah.
like, what you been up to,
Hmm.
things like that. Taking a little page at a
Yeah.
frog's book. Um,
Yeah. And I think the specific like which dating app you use is probably a big deal too, because I actually I was trying to do stuff earlier this year. Although I'm waiting till after college to actually start caring about online dating, just in case I find someone during college. But yeah,
yeah.
like on Tinder, Tinder, you're not gonna find shit. It's terrible
No.
out there. But
Uh,
you want to go
the
Match.com or OKCupid or something. I don't know.
Yeah, the demographic for
Oh, what's that
I'm
noise?
getting a kind of a buzzing. Hang on. Okay, it's gone away. Okay, I think it's fixed. Um, I get what was it? What was I saying? Oh, about the dating app. Yeah, there's the demographic for Tinder is a little too young for me,
Mm.
and there's always different problems. I've tried a lot of different stuff, but it just right now I do feel like I am productivity oriented right now and just focused on that. So I'm not too worried about it. There used to be times where I just check the dating app all the time, but now I'm just like, you know what? I'm just gonna look in the world I live in right now, try to make the world I live in right now be the kind of world I want to live in right now.
Hmm.
Um, and you know, hopefully there will be somebody in it for me. And if not, then I'll probably search a little bit, through external sources. Um,
Yeah.
but it's not been too bad.
Hmm. Yeah. I think sometimes I get in this sort of mentality when it comes to relationships and thinking about that, where I almost value a relationship intrinsically rather than objectively. I try to think oh, I just want a relationship, just a relationship, without understanding why or without understanding who the right person is, and that I
Right.
don't know. That leads me to these really bad trains of thought where it's if I don't have a relationship, I just feel like absolute shit. Even if there's absolutely nobody who I'm interested in, I'm still
Yeah.
oh,
When
I just
there
need a relationship.
when I put myself into perspective and I think, well, what do I want a relationship for? I want to see my values reflected in somebody else and, get fulfillment from them seeing their values reflected in me. Um, that's where I want the value to come from.
Hmm.
So I just look inward and I think, well, am I up to those standards that I want? And
Yeah.
if not, that's where I need to be paying attention. I need to be focusing on me, where I need to work out. I haven't worked out in so long, but I know that I look good when I do.
Hmm.
So I got to start doing that. Forming better routines as far as house cleaning, just personal hygiene, all these things. Like for the longest time as a young adult, I just been basically had shit for bad habits, like pretty much everything, and very few good habits. So I got a lot of stuff that I want to work on for myself. Because otherwise, if I find somebody that's like, just like me, they're gonna have a lot to work on too, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but it's not about getting myself down and being depressed about it, because I don't feel like it's an impossible task. I feel like it is a great task to take on, improving myself. So
Yeah, for sure.
definitely want to get into that.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah, and I
yeah.
can't say enough positive things about working out and like running and stuff like that. There were those two videos that I did, or the one where it was like go out for a run, and then the other one where it's
Oh
like
hell yeah.
I'm serious, go do it.
Yeah, you are
But
like out running and you're
yeah,
like, I'm serious, guys, go out and do this. Like that
yeah,
was awesome.
no, but I
Like
cannot say enough positive things about running because, like I don't know, just like the dealing with that excruciating pain, realizing that no, this pain is meaningless. You sort of put things in perspective. You put these things, yeah, in long term perspective. And just this morning, I went to run with some friends, which is if you can run with somebody, that's an amazing thing. But I was on a cross country team in high school, and those were like my friends. So whenever I can go run with them, like I try to do that. And since I've moved back, I think I'm going to be doing that almost every day now, so that should be a good time. But yeah, whatever,
oh
back to
yeah.
the point, working out, running, those sort of things, it's such a positive thing. And yeah, I haven't
Yeah.
been lifting very often lately though, which is scary, but I need to get back in the weight room.
Yeah, like I mean, the last time I was working out, I didn't even really understand the mechanics of self-confidence and what it really means to have self-confidence and want to be like an effective individual and things like that. And working out did boost my self-confidence just implicitly because of like I didn't even need to understand it. I was just doing the right thing, so I was feeling good about it. Now that I, understand all that and how self confidence works, like, why am I not doing it right now? Why
Yeah.
am I not pumping iron right now? Like, I know that once I form that habit, I'm gonna feel great about it because
Hmm.
I'm just a lot more integrated right now.
Oh
Uh,
yeah, for sure.
so,
It's
but
yeah, and
but
just
like,
no, you
yeah.
keep going. Or never mind.
Like with any small good habits I've been
Hmm.
forming, like I just feel great about it. Like I used to be really lazy about flossing, like brushing okay, but flossing I was like, nah, who does that? Like it seems complicated. uh, like I didn't see a whole lot of people flossing in my life, and I was like, well, I'm not really going to pay attention to it. But after a while, I was like, no, it's really much better for you. So I just did not let myself, be done brushing my teeth
Yeah.
until I flossed. Like it just that was a part of the process. So and
Hmm.
it's not that big of a thing to
Oh yeah.
floss. Like it's like 3 minutes of your day or less, but it's something I can be proud of. And like when you stack up all those little small good habits that you form, that's an immense level of self confidence. Um, yeah,
Absolutely. Yeah.
so that's what
Good
that's what I
habits are
got on
such a
that.
yeah, habits are such a big deal. Like yeah, that's how you do anything sort of long term. You set the sort of principle for yourself, which is what a habit is. It's basically saying this principle that I'm going to follow long term regardless of like the sort of what's actually going on this day. I'm just going to make sure I do this certain thing today. And I don't know, I've set so many of those things at this point. Like I try to run as much as possible, lift as much as possible, but like just setting habits, like yeah, flossing is another thing that I actually started a long time ago. I think it was my like New Year's resolution 2 years ago, and once you get in that habit, you just keep doing it. And then same thing with drinking soda. That's another thing I just got in the habit of not doing. And I guess you have writing too. I try to write a journal entry a day, read 10 pages a day, and do a video a day.
Yeah.
So like you just want to get, yeah, as many good habits as possible so that you can find like, I guess,
Yeah.
this long
Right
term
now,
sort of meaning.
right now what I'm working on is getting a better sleep schedule because it coincides with productivity for me. Is like not falling into the habit of sleeping in a whole lot or staying up in ungodly hours and just not using my time at night. Like having a set time I go to bed and a set time that I wake up is streamlined the productivity for me. I don't think if I wasn't like in the habit of getting up and going to bed at the same time, I don't think I would have been getting that video done when I got it done. I would have probably just been like, well, I don't feel like it now, and I'm sleeping now, and all that kind of thing. Like, just having that, and I want to push that back because I like waking up early, and I want to be one of those. I want to, I get fulfillment when I do wake up early. I just don't do it a whole lot, and I want to like just do that all the time. Where I'm like rising, like early rise and shine, like just knock out the work I got to do like that day and go to bed tired but feeling great, like at a good time.
Mm-hmm.
It's just great.
Absolutely.
It's a good goal to go for.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and going to bed when you're exhausted or like super sore, it's the best feeling ever. Like, because it's like I did something good today. I didn't just waste my time all day. Like I did something and now I'm sore. This is gonna be good in the long term, and this is like today was productive, and now I can just close my eyes and be fine with that. And
Yeah, there's almost no better feeling for me than at the end of the day, like wrapping it up and realizing that the day was more productive than usual. I'm
mm-hmm.
just like, man, this day just kicked ass. Like if every day was like this, like I just take on the world. That's an awesome feeling.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Um, did you want to talk about music a little bit?
Sure.
Oh,
Yeah.
sorry.
I saw.
I thought, I thought that would be a little fun pop, but it was like
Yeah. Yeah. We
just
could talk about music.
yeah. So yeah, when the Juice World thing happened, at first I was kind of like one of those jaded people that was like, oh, I don't know this guy. It's not that big of a deal, SoundCloud artists are a dime a dozen. I was a real asshole about it, and I didn't even know the guy. And I actually looked into. I mean, I wasn't like the complete extreme where it was like, fuck this guy or anything like that. But it was definitely like I didn't have a good sense of life about it.
Mm-hmm.
And when you made your video about Juice World, I went and listened to some of his music. And while it's not like, it's not romantic realism, but it is like good music.
Yeah.
And it's not the style that I typically listen to.
Mm-hmm.
I'm kind of more of a rock guy, but I did resonate with the fact that it's like, Juice was talking about real issues, feelings he's got and stuff like that. Like I
Mm-hmm.
like the song "All Girls Are the Same,"
Yeah.
uh, and I listened to a lot of like kind of alternative, kind of punk, like emo type of stuff when I was younger. And although it's like in a rock genre instead, it's still like, good music wrapped up with these, real emotions that people are
Mm-hmm.
going through and stuff. And that like made me relate to that a whole lot. And I do like R&B and like kind of just chill, good listening music every once in a while. But I like to get hardcore sometimes.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I don't know. The one thing. Yeah. The one thing that I love in music, I guess, is just like one thing is just like like just having a good flow and just having like a smooth sort of flow to the song and like just a chill sort of background music. But I also like love really like emotional music. Like I don't know, this stuff with really strong emotions because that's I don't know because it just like I don't know, it helps me like express my emotions fully when I'm struggling with something or like when I feel really bad. I can turn on some like Juice World is one person. There's a lot of people who I listen to that are similar, but Juice World was definitely like one of my favorites, and it's just like raw emotion. That's the one word that I can find to describe it, and it's so hard to describe music, but because there's like we don't have good words to describe it, but it's uh, I don't know, that's the best thing that I've found to ever describe his music.
Yeah, well, it's like just because it's not like just because it's not like all positive stuff
Mm-hmm.
doesn't mean that when you put that kind of emotion into your work, like that's art with like real soul. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's not like just some manufactured uh like just thing that's designed to be catchy and that's about it,
Yeah.
you know. Um it's not like empty stuff. Um Music's really complicated for
Mm-hmm.
me because I got into it really late. Like I never really used to listen to music a whole lot when I was younger. I it was like a take it or leave it kind of thing. But um, as I sort of you know was an older teenager, I realized that that was the thing that a lot of people like to talk about was like, well, what do you like to listen to? And I'm like, I don't know, like I think Weird Al's funny, like, and that was about it.
Yeah.
But after that, I had some friends that I'm like, hey, you're big into music, like, what do you like? And I'm like, taking recommendations from them, and some of it, it was like a pick and choose thing. You kind of learn what works for you.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you kind of learn what works for you just by trial and error, I think. And that's how I kind of settled on the, you know, more kind of rock type deal. But I know that that's a kind of a different it's a different thing for a whole lot of different people. Like I mean, it's pretty typical for my generation to like, you know, 2000s to like 2010 ish, like just
Mm-hmm.
alternative, like it's pretty typical.
For
Um,
sure.
I don't know what kind of genres you like the most besides these kind of like chill R&B type stuff that I've heard you talk about.
I guess I also really like. I guess it depends. Honestly, I really like Green Day for some reason. That's like one thing that I go kind of off my like normal what I like. I also really like John Bellion if you know who he is, but he's a really good singer.
I do not know him, but Green Day is like a complicated issue for me. Like, it's like them and System of a Down are like bands I really used to like a whole lot, and some of their
Yeah.
songs I have like I just have that association that I really like. But both of them, like the bands themselves, are like the like messaging is kind of trash when I realize it on some of their songs. But
Uh,
that being said, I can't throw out some things that I like for different reasons. Just for that, you know what I'm
mm-hmm.
saying? So there are some Green Day songs I still really, really like because that's like right in the middle of my genre. That's like on point for me.
Oh yeah.
And System of a Down is like a little bit when I am feeling more, into the harder like metalish stuff. Like System of a Down is like around like proximal to the stuff I like. Um, but Green Day is like basically right in it where it's like the kind of genre that I really like. It's just I'm like iffy about a lot of their stuff because sometimes it's like the negativity shines through for some of it, like, but sometimes
Yeah,
not.
yeah.
Sometimes I can put aside
Hmm.
uh, ideology things and just enjoy art for what it is.
Yeah, for sure. For me, I think I try to like I mostly like completely ignore a lot of the ideology things because I don't know, when I listen to music, for me it's more about how it resonates with me emotionally, because that's the purpose I listen to music. It's not to be like enlightened philosophically or get some strong philosophical message most of the time. It's more to like help me experience emotions more strongly, or different things like that, if that makes sense. I don't know if I'm explaining that as best as I can, but yeah, that's more what I listen to music for. It's to like experience strong emotions. Like when I'm sad, I'll listen to Juice World or people like him a lot, or when I'm happy, I'll listen to like, I don't know, like Lil Uzi or like Aloe Black or something like that. Aloe Black isn't a rapper though. I love his stuff though. Um, or who else? Chance the Rapper too. He's really good. Or when I'm angry, I can listen to like some Juice World is angry, but not maybe not. Maybe like X or something like that. I don't know. I don't listen to that much X, but yeah, it depends on
Right.
who.
Yeah, I used to be really like that where I was I mean, I guess I still do that to some extent, but I like to like compartmentalize my playlists and have like a this is my happy like music. Like I do like some lighthearted like electronic type music. Like I like Owl City.
Oh
Things like
yeah.
that. Um they're like, and that's when I'm feeling really fun, I'm feeling really poppy, like those kind of things. But there's also times where I like sad music, or I
Mm-hmm.
like really angry kick-ass music. Although most of the like metal stuff that I like is more like just like it's less about being angry and more about just being epic, like larger than life stuff
Mm-hmm.
like that. I think there's a thing to that genre where it's like um, just taking the human capability of producing awesome sounds and just like cranking it up. Like that's how I kind of see it, and that's how I get a good sense of life out of that. But sometimes I'm just like, you need to let off some steam, and you just like want to go into it.
Yeah.
Um, and and it's a good release to listen to music that speaks the way you feel sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
So I have tons of different playlists. That's actually how I came to hear about Raqqa was I had this like compartmentalized playlist for like comedy music, and I did the thing where I created the playlist and I put what I knew, which was like Weird Al and like epic rap battles and
Mm-hmm.
uh, Lonely Island and stuff like that, and just let the Pandora station run with it. And they're like, "How about Rucka?" And I'm like,
Yeah.
"Okay, let me listen." And such was the beginning of my journey.
Little did you know that Pandora made you an objectivist.
Yes, yes, Pandora. I'm surprised. I'm surprised some of the stuff got on there, but it wasn't as cancelly as of a culture as it used to be. Um, anyway, that's hmm, yeah, that's a God, that's a
Oh,
deep
one
deep
one
tangent I'm on.
yeah. One person who I feel like has, I've mentioned his name already in the interview, but one person who I feel like has a really good sense of life is John Bellion. He has some religious elements of his music, which is I'm iffy about. Like there's songs where it's like, this would be so perfect. This would be so perfect if you just didn't say God, or you didn't say like something related to religion. But it's like, I don't know, his music has such a amazing sense of life and positive, like, I don't know, I can't
Yeah,
say enough positive things about his music.
That is kind of like how I feel about some artists. Like Owl City tends to sprinkle some religious elements in his uh, uh, songs that have become more obvious as I've uh, got the ear for recognizing it. But I still am like, you know what? I'll take this where the guy is happy with life over something that's just got a garbage sense of life but doesn't mention God uh,
Hmm.
any day. Um, I have a hard time getting into classical music. Like I've seen you put some classical stuff on some of your streams, and I was like, yeah, boy, like this is some objective music, but
Yeah.
I totally struggle with getting into it. Maybe it's because I've never been a big person with I've never played a musical instrument like a whole lot, so I don't have that classical training or anything. I'm not saying you do. You
Oh, I
might,
play the
but
piano. Yeah.
okay. But I've always had a hard time getting into classical. When people are like, "Oh yes, this is the highest form of music," I'm like, I could take it or leave it. Like,
Yeah.
it,
I
it's
understand.
kind of
There.
I
Yeah.
don't know why, but because it should strike me as like as exceptionally beautiful because it is. If I really look at it, it's
Hmm.
just like if I have a choice of what to if I have a choice of what to sit down and listen to, I don't really go for it.
Yeah. I. For me, I guess it honestly depends on my mood. Sometimes I really like certain classical music, or like, I don't know. It's tough because that's not at all what I've grown up liking. I've like obviously have some experience with like playing different songs on the piano, but um, yeah, I mean, I really like Tchaikovsky's music, but that's basically like it. I like Tchaikovsky, Brahms, and Rachmaninoff. I think those are like the three that I guess Chopin's pretty good too, but those four are like the four that I can listen to a lot of and be good with. But it really depends on my mood too. Like a lot of times I'm not gonna go and listen to classical music.
Yeah, it's like definitely a you got to be in the mood for it,
Mm-hmm.
and sometimes I am. Like sometimes I like to. Sometimes I like just something in the background when I'm working, like something that's a little bit, just sets a rhythm that I can work to. But more often than not, um, well, back in the day when I used to do art more regularly, I got I got in the really weird habit of liking to put on like avant-garde jazz music because that's
Mm-hmm.
what my art teacher at school would always put on when we were drawing, and I just it kind of went with my workflow, but it's like it's really like an insult to everything that is music if you think about it. But sometimes it just strikes something like that just strikes you where you're like, you know what, this is just where I want to be right now as far as what my ears are feeling. uh it's
Yeah,
kind of weird.
yeah, for sure. I mean, it's so it's like it's so hard to categorize music and say certain things are better than others because there's no like real science of doing that yet.
Yeah, like there hasn't been like a, oh, we looked into like your, well, even if it was scientifically proven that like certain melodies affect the human brain to produce more happiness, like that's completely besides the subject when it comes to aesthetics. Um, like it's not just about the mechanisms of what releases the dopamine. Like it's about It's a lot more than that. It's a way
Yeah,
more complex than somebody like I can go on a tirade about. But I
yeah.
know I
There's
know it's a
so much
lot more
involved in
than
your taste in music.
yeah. Uh, it's cool. I mean, if I was a real musical guy, that would be a worthwhile thing to look into. But I think a lot of people that are interested in music as such are normally properly too focused on actually making it.
Yeah.
That they're like it would take a very special kind of person that would want to look into the mechanics of that without like just being into making music. But maybe that kind of person is going to be up and coming sometime. I
Mm.
look forward to it if they ever do show up.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, yeah, those people come. Like they're in every sort of field. Like there's Newton for physics, and there's I guess Einstein for physics too, who he also did a lot of things for physics, and like Aristotle for philosophy
Yeah,
coming out of nowhere, and yeah, all these people like that come up. There's a lot of great people, and those are the people that we feel reverence towards. We don't feel reverence towards some dude dead on a cross 2,000 years ago. We feel reverence for the Newtons and the Aristotles of history.
yeah. It's just baffling to me how the morality shift like from being like this is like the centerpiece of our whole conversation comes back to like the the shift in perspective of what used to be a religious way of thinking, and it blows my mind like that when I used to be religious like I didn't even know what it was to love somebody. I didn't even know what, like, how bad sacrifice was. You know, it's just I just implicitly accepted um, these things handed down to me, and it's like my conception of a hero was always this person willing to sacrifice themselves to save other people. I mean, it's the whole stereotype of like, who is the hero? Oh, well, it's the person running into the
Mm.
burning building, putting their own life on the line to save other people. And not that that isn't commendable to some extent. I think at least in the context of firefighters, because that's their job. But that's in that context. Like sometimes being heroic is just like about living your life like as good as you can and being superlative at your chosen way of living. Uh, it depends on what your thing is. Like my idea of a hero, at least in the artistic realm, is just somebody who's really amazing at art and loves it and stuff like that. Um, yeah, and that doesn't require dying on a cross or anything.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the judge of your heroicness is not other people; it's yourself. You set your own standards, and don't
Yeah,
ever let anyone set the standard of what a hero is for you. You are a hero if you achieve your own standards, if you achieve your own happiness, if you achieve your own life. That's what defines what ethics is. It's your own life and your own happiness, and you're the one who defines that. You're the one who, I mean, obviously, like it's dictated by reality, but like you're the one who gets to decide like what sort of things are, or you don't decide what things are objectively good for your life, but you decide like what you're gonna do to pursue your life. Like you said, you have your own standard basically.
hell yeah. Oh man, so I think that covers the planned topics we were going to talk about. Even the last minute like Corona scare.
Yeah,
Um, I don't have a whole lot more on religion. I may do a follow up independent video after stuff all goes down with my family,
yeah.
because the talk is a coming like a freight train. We're gonna have a coming to Jesus moment for sure. Um,
Should I title the
But
video "Rejecting God" with Bryan Bonar?
man, if you want to, I mean, it's your channel.
Yeah,
You can do
yeah, yeah.
whatever. But I think I would probably have to explain myself
Yeah.
beforehand on that one.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, is there anything else that's been striking as far as conversationally? I know I don't have much of a backlog of content, so you don't really have like I've got all these things that I came into wanting to talk to you about
Mm-hmm.
because you had made videos about it. But as far as me, I'm kind of just an unknown entity with a goofy name at this point.
Yeah.
Uh,
I mean, you
so
had your discussion with Rucka where you guys talked a little bit about humor, and I think we have similar points on those, like where
yeah.
it's kind of laughing at absurdity. So I don't know how much we could get into with that, but
No.
there's that
Well,
that's not that. Yeah, you can go ahead if you have
no,
anything to
well,
say.
I I'm actually pretty proud of that conversation just
Yeah.
because I think instead of going into the nature of humor as such, I wanted to go and talk to Raka about whether or not he thought that how did his humor integrate with his philosophical understanding of it. That's kind of what I wanted to focus
Yeah.
on because it's like there was the question like with the whole Charles situation, it was basically the question and the answer where the question was, well, it's less of a question and more of a dictate, but like the like the dictate was your humor is immoral, and most people were focused on the question of like whether or not most people were focused on the question of like the nature of humor itself and not like whether or not like what Rucka had to do about it or if he was going to do anything about it. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad to have gotten his perspective about that where he talked about contextually there's the context of like what kind of uh, humor he grew up with and stuff like that taken into account. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I think that applies for a lot of different aspects of life. He drew the comparison to, sexual orientation or things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, sometimes it's, I don't know for sure if it is um, as cut and dry as that or not, where like I don't want context to be the catch-all answer to everything where everything is good in a particular context. I don't want to be
Yeah.
subjectivist about it, but uh, that is objectivity. Is the context is important. It's not just intrinsicism. So
Yeah.
it's it's one of those things where I think you need to not you particularly, but one needs to take context into consideration.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's an interesting thing, and I have my own hangups. Like I have my leftover stuff from before I was studying objectivism that I'm really fond of, but I also don't know how it integrates with objectivism, and I'm trying, you know, um, to do that.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I mean that was really the thing I wanted to focus on. I think the definition of humor qua humor, like as metaphysically destroying something or something of that nature,
Mm-hmm.
uh, it's important, but it has a context that needs to be applied to
Yeah.
too.
For sure.
So
Yeah.
um,
For sure. I mean, that's what objectivism does right with regards to everything, basically, like from the fundamentals up. Like objectivism,
Yeah.
for one, it's not a religion. Like you have to always keep context. You need it basically holds principles without dropping context. That's like
Yeah.
that's the key principle that I think objectivism follows that makes it so unique. Because like rationalists and intrinsicists, they just have principles and they always drop context. Um, and
Yeah.
the empiricists and subjectivists, they only hold context up and they completely dismiss principles. And that's I guess that's where objectivism kind of stands out and shines because it holds principles in context.
Yeah. Like, I mean, I don't want to get too like overly personal if this is like treading on something, but is there anything like that you are interested in that sometimes you feel is contrary to like objectivism, like as such, like where you have a hard time integrating it? Uh,
I mean, there's certain things, but I guess rap music has always been hard for me to integrate, um, because yeah, a lot of people just attack it constantly because of there's a lot of negative
yeah,
like lyrics. There's a lot of negative mental habits that a lot of rappers have or personal habits that they have also, and that's I mean that's
yeah,
something that you almost have to just drop because that is like drop the things that are insignificant, drop the things that are unimportant and non-essential. Like the essential for me when it comes to rap is the emotions, the flows, those sort of things. And if the lyrics are bad, then you just drop that and move forward with what's good. Take the good and drop the bad.
right. And what like whether or not enjoying that kind of thing is like a moral act, it does depend on its relationship between you and reality. It's not just it's not just what it is in reality out of context,
Mm-hmm.
and it's not just its relationship to you out of context either. So it's like if you like a thing because it makes you feel an emotion that is like objectively like positive,
Mm-hmm.
uh, or you get something out of it that enhances your life, like that is objectively a good thing that you
Yep.
should be doing. And it doesn't matter if like intrinsically you could say, well, this is a negative thing and it's not good. Or subjectively, you could just dismiss the criticism and just say, well, if you feel good about it, then it's good no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
It's about whether or not it actually benefits your life that
Yep.
makes it a good thing to be doing.
Absolutely.
Um,
Absolutely.
yeah. Oh yeah, like that's where the applied philosophy gets really complicated. Um, this is where I think Frog is a great boon to like our little fledgling community. Is
Yeah.
is he's real good about the whole taking things into complete perspective.
Yeah.
That's a key
Absolutely.
good thing he does. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, and a lot of like I mean most philosophical issues it seems like come down to just that sort of three-way split between like objectivism, intrinsicism and subjectivism and
Yeah,
I mean that's
the false
basically what objectivism
dichotomy.
is all about.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, the false
Objectivism.
dichotomy. That's really the trichotomy, and I have that conversation with a lot of people where try to um, I try to like argue against subjectivism, and they immediately think I'm taking the side of intrinsicism.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, no, that's not what I'm doing at all. I'm just saying that there is an objective like thing here. There is truth here, and because they are so dedicated, like sometimes they have good intentions and they're just so dedicated against intrinsicism that they've entrenched themselves in subjectivism as a defense against it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that sort of thing is very common in a lot of things. It's kind of like in the political spectrum where somebody decides to be straight ticket Republican no matter what because they know that they don't agree with Democrats. But really it's a false dichotomy. Like you should be taking things into the perspective of, um, what's the real good thing, and not just like it's not just two things, and if you know one is wrong, then the other is right. It's
Mm-hmm.
like, well, there's like reality, and you need to use you need to be the judge of what is conforming to that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
But yeah,
my favorite kind of analogy when talking about this dichotomy is sort of like, because it's so easy to understand. I feel like is thinking about like, what does it mean to have a healthy diet? Like a diet is something that like, can you say that there's one specific diet that's good for every single person regardless of who they are, but their specific body is? No, that's intrinsicism. That's an example of what intrinsicism would be. You know that that's not
yeah,
true. But can you just eat whatever you want just because you feel like that and still have it be a healthy diet? No, you obviously can't. That's what subjectivism is. And objectivism is basically saying, eat the things that are required for your life. Eat the things that your specific requirements need you to eat, and that's objectivism, basically.
right. Yeah, I mean that personally is a thing that I need to work on. My diet
Oh,
is not that
yeah.
great, but when you grow up kind of picky, like it's hard to get into that kind of thing as an adult because you have to develop a palate that you should have developed years and years ago.
Yeah.
but uh, but yeah, you can't be intrinsicist about it and just say like, well, this is like good objectively. It's like, well, like there's probably a plethora of different healthy diets I could form,
Yep.
that might be better suited to the kind of tastes I prefer.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you have anything else
This
you
is
wanted to
kind
say?
of well,
Sorry.
this is kind of a casual aside thing, but I kind of did want to ask you about when you stream and you do Minecraft. Why do you pick Minecraft particularly?
Uh,
Is it
I don't
just
know.
like a thing?
I don't know. I've never really like been that much of a gamer. And Minecraft is
Right.
just like something that I have played in the past and I know a decent amount about. And then I've
Right.
just
I
loaded
was
up
like
and
your champion that one day that you were streaming it, and I'm like dropping all the hot tips.
yeah.
Uh, I've been getting really into it lately. If I do streams, that's probably what I'm gonna stream because I have the most fun playing Minecraft. Um, but I thought it was funny because I'm like, of all the things, like why this? Uh,
Yeah, I don't know. I think actually thinking back, there was one time when there was a stream at like 5 in the morning by this dude named the Progressive Voice, and like I absolutely hate his politics. I think he's has a lot of problems as a commentator. But I was like just watching him, and he's just hanging out, just having fun playing Minecraft and talking like a little bit about politics or just talking with his people in his chat. This was before I had a channel. I was like, yo, I want to do this. I want to be like a streamer and like do these sort of things and just chill
yeah.
with the chat, hang out, listen to some music in the background, and just have some fun playing Minecraft. And
Hell yeah.
so I guess
Like
that
that's
was
that's
one
that's
motivation.
the ideal.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, I know you're a big fan of Destiny. He's like been an element in my past. Not because I didn't watch him a whole lot, but obviously he's like kind of tangential to a lot of social politics,
Hmm.
with his debates and stuff, and he's a known good debater. I didn't know like when he streams, like is it specifically um, him debating somebody, or does he do anything on the streams besides that?
I mean, a lot of it is just him gaming and just like talking to the chatter and stuff like that. But
Okay.
yeah, I don't really watch much of his streams specifically. I just try to watch the stuff that he puts on YouTube because a lot of his streams are just him just sitting there and not saying anything and just a bunch of viewers just waiting on the edge of their seats for him to say the next word. And it's like, yeah, maybe I'll just spend my time doing something productive and watch his like
Yeah,
condensed things.
yeah. The when you're actually in the live stream, it's a little bit overly time consuming for the content that you get. unless you're really into the game specifically,
Mhm.
like like whether or not I can stay paying attention to like Kirk's streams basically depends on the game, whether or not I am really into the game, because the sound bites of him saying cool funny things is kind of spread out
Yeah.
throughout the video, and I could just get all that at once if I watch it on YouTube.
Yep.
um, but I think that is like where I want to be, like as far as like I want to try out the whole art stream thing. I think that if people are interested in aesthetics, they might stay tuned in and watch like the process unfold of like creating this thing, um, and um, and also like adding in that Q&A element. If people like a bite into it, it might be good. I do know people that are like non philosophical people that stream art and do well with it. I don't know. I really have to try like figure out streaming though.
Mhm.
It's way more complicated to me than making the produced videos.
Yeah.
Like um, the last time I tried to stream something just as a test run, like I had the first thing I said on the whole stream constantly echoing over and over and over again throughout the entire thing. I never got the camera to show like the actual game I was playing. It was a disaster area.
What
So
software did you
I
use to
definitely
stream?
I think it was Streamlabs.
Ah.
It
Yeah,
was
I've
my
never
first
streamed.
time using it.
Yeah.
Back in the day, I think back in the day that I used to try streaming, and I actually got it to be successful. Not like successful as in there weren't any people watching, but it was successful as in the stream actually got up on Twitch. Um, uh, I wasn't using that software. I can't remember what I was using, like
Mm.
some OBS thing. I don't
Oh
know.
yeah, yeah.
I'm such a boomer when it comes to technology. I don't know how to do anything.
Yeah.
Um,
I used to use this like
but yeah.
I used to use like this free cam thing, free cam 8 or something to record my videos, and then I discovered
Oh my god.
OBS one day and I was like, "Oh wow, this is a lot easier."
Yeah. I'll figure it out. Like that's
Yeah.
probably like between that and my next like scripted video project. That's probably what I'm going to be working on next. So ideally, I'd like to fire up like a test stream or something by the end of the week, or 2 weeks, something like that.
Yeah.
Um,
That's awesome.
it'd be great. Anyway, I think that's about all I've got, and my voice is getting really hoarse over here. So are you good,
Yeah, that
Mr.
was good.
Garrett?
We got a good 2 hours and 30 minutes plus a little intermission reading of Philosophy Who Needs It by Ayn Rand. But yeah, we
Hell
got
yeah.
hell yeah. We got a good 2 hour 30 minutes. I
You,
think it turned out
you've
well. We
got
got a
me.
lot of good stuff in there.
Yeah, you've got me on that whole hell yeah thing. Like I
Hell
tend
yeah.
to I tend to adopt the it's probably secondhand nihilism. No, I tend to adopt things that I really like in other people. You know, so I like the enthusiasm of like just being like I'm up for it. Like let's do this thing. So
Yeah.
it's pretty cool. Uh,
Hell yeah.
anyway, been great talking to you. Do you want to do a little outro thing or
Of
whatever?
course, of course. Go subscribe to Bryan Bonar's channel. And
Yeah, I'll
thank you all for.
provide you with the link.
Yep, I'll provide that link down there in that description right there. Also, see that like button right there? Go smash
Yeah,
that like button.
smash
And
that like button.
smash that like button. Hit that subscribe button down there, and ring that bell. Yeah.
Yeah,
But I,
YouTube. YouTube people or objectivists on YouTube never shill their stuff at the end of the
for
video, and
real,
I'm ending that practice. I am shilling the crap. Uh,
yeah.
we are a business.
Of
Yes.
course, yeah. I never fucking. I don't think that's the. I think that's the first time I've said subscribe to my channel in any of my videos. I never say it, but yeah, there we
Yeah.
go. Go subscribe to my channel. And
Do
I
it.
think that's all we have to say for today. Thank you all for watching, and I hope to see you all in the next video. Peace.
Peace.